If y'all didn't know, Charlie Kirk was a politically right-leaning pundit, like activist, if you want to call him that. Wasn't exactly a politician. He wasn't running for office or anything like that. He would just go to colleges and like debate college kids about stuff. All right. And at one of these events, he got shot in the neck and died. All right. That was like Wednesday in Utah. It says what we know so far about the Charlie Kirk shooting suspect. All right. So when talking about the guy who did it, authorities announced Friday that they made an arrest in the shooting death of right-wing activist Charlie Kirk in the midst of rampant public speculation about the suspect's identity. We got him, said Utah Governor Spencer Cox, flanked by U.S. and state law enforcement officials in the most significant update since the manhunt began nearly 2 days before. The Republican governor identified the suspect as Tyler Robinson, age 22, who was arrested on multiple state felony charges, suspicion of aggravated murder, felony discharge of a weapon causing serious bodily injury, and obstruction of justice. Cox said the suspect had reached out to a relative who then turned to authorities with information, saying he had confessed or implied he had carried out the shooting at a university event earlier this week. Right, so a family member turned him in. It said President Donald Trump first announced the arrest during a Friday interview with Fox and Friends, saying with a high degree of certainty, authorities had a suspect in custody. The case has prompted tributes to Kirk's influence in politics, renewed scrutiny of his incendiary comments and amplified concerns over rising political violence. Yes, so Charlie Kirk, as I just described, was a right-wing political activist who has been radicalizing people. All right, that's what social media and like these, I don't know if you'd say Gen Z or millennial political activists have been doing. They've been radicalizing the left and the right. So it's no wonder, it's no surprise that now people are starting to get violent. That's what happens when you radicalize people politically. People get violent. That's what's been happening in all the countries around the world, especially the ones that the CIA has been intervening with, which is pretty much all the countries around the world. They've been doing this in Latin America for like a century now. All right, they know what they're doing. They're radicalizing the people towards violence, and now people are getting violent again. Very surface level. I'm going to keep it very surface level. I'm not going to speculate about much, but that is what's happening. That's not even speculation. That's just what's happening. All right. At the briefing, Cox suggested Americans must choose whether Kirk's death becomes the end of a dark chapter in our history or the beginning of a darker chapter. This is our moment. Do we escalate or do we find an off-ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice, right? So the only way they're going to it's kind of like a roller coaster, right? Once you get on the ride, you can't really stop the ride. Not really. You have to go all the way through it. And that's the only way to stop the ride is if you pull the breaker and just stop everything, which they're not going to do. They're going to keep escalating. They're going to keep radicalizing both the left and the right. The rich are going to continue to get richer. That also turns the poor into becoming radically political, whether it be right-leaning or left-leaning. Both fascism and communism comes out of a poor working class. That's where that comes from. The eroding of the middle class leads to the radicalization of the population. Here's the latest on what we know. What do we know about the suspect? The investigation is ongoing, but authorities believe the suspect shooter acted alone, according to the governor, which we'll stick to that. I don't believe that, but we'll stick to that. Casings retrieved from the scene are believed to be connected to the shooting, including a fired casing that read, "Notices bulges, oh whoa, what is this?" Oh man, I hate this world. There were also 3 unfired casings, each with different inscriptions. "Hey fascist, catch," with an up arrow symbol, right arrow symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. Oh Bella, Chow, Bella, Chow, Bella, Chow, Chow, Chow. I don't even understand that one. "If you read this, you are gay, Lamau." The inscriptions appear to be a hodgepodge of extremely online memes, and gaming references. Yep. A family member had told authorities that the suspect had become more political in recent years. Cox said, several media outlets have reported that Robinson, a Utah resident, was registered as an unaffiliated voter and also listed as an inactive voter, right? So he would seem to be a leftist, right? That's certainly what they're portraying him as. It's not yet known if or how he has described his political ideology. The suspect has no prior criminal history, according to state and federal court records, the Associated Press reported. Following the announcement of the arrest, USU confirmed in a statement that the suspect attended the school for one semester in 2021. So that would be Utah State University. A spokesperson confirmed to PBS News that he was a pre-engineering major and the coursework he took that semester was consistent with that major. The Utah System of Higher Education also released a statement expanding on Robinson's schooling history. The state public university system said he was a third-year student in Dixie Technical College's electrical apprenticeship program and received concurrent enrollment credit through Utah Tech University as a high schooler. Where and when was the suspect arrested? FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed in Friday's news conference that the suspect was arrested Thursday night at 10 p.m. local time after a 33-hour manhunt. So, so that would mean that they started their investigation at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. So yeah, that's what I understood, that he died on Wednesday. Wednesday would have been the 10th. The arrest was made about 250 miles southwest of Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, where Kirk was killed, authorities said. Authorities previously said Kirk was struck by a single shot in what Cox described as a political assassination. Grainy videos released by authorities Thursday show a person running on the rooftop of a nearby building after the shooting and then jumping down to the ground and fleeing the scene. Several items were retrieved from a wooded area on the edge of the campus where Kirk had been engaging students in an event related to his American Comeback Tour. Cox said the suspect had several messages to a roommate over Discord, a messaging app. The messages stated a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point as well as leaving the weapons in a bush. Investigators discovered a Mauser bolt action rifle wrapped in a dark colored towel near the shooting site. Discord confirmed to PBS News that the company identified an account associated with the suspect and removed it for violating our off-platform behavior policy. We strongly condemn violence of any kind, including political violence, and we will continue to coordinate closely with law enforcement. So the funny thing about that, as far as they strongly condemn violence of any kind, including political violence, is that the Nepalese who overthrew the government are actually using Discord to figure out how they're going to establish a new government. So that's pretty funny. Discord said they're cooperating with authorities. But Discord also said it found no evidence that the suspect planned this incident or promoted violence on the platform, which appears to contradict the governor's Friday account of certain planning details being sent. And also Discord's big, and there's a lot of people on it, so they wouldn't really know unless they look for it. The messages referenced in recent reporting about planning details do not appear to be Discord messages, the spokesperson wrote. These were communications between the suspect's roommate and a friend after the shooting, where the roommate was recounting the contents of a note the suspect had left elsewhere. PBS News has reached out to Cox's office for clarification over how the suspect may have used Discord, a grisly video that spread like wildfire. Yeah, so let me go ahead and read this real quick as far as the video, and I'll mention something about that. Kirk's death has drawn bipartisan condemnation from both sides of the aisle, as well as polarized political rhetoric. Authorities have not identified a motive for the shooting. Trump and his allies have blamed the radical left for the violence. The radicals on the left are the problem. Trump, who survived 2 assassination attempts, said on Fox and Friends on Friday. Political violence has also targeted Democratic politicians in recent months, such as the killing of Minnesota Democratic lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband in June. Right, so I was going to mention that, how nobody's really talking about how Democratic politicians were killed by gun violence as well. Not even activists, literal politicians, people in political office. So this is not just the left is getting radical and starting to kill people. The right does that as well. That's why I said both sides are politically radicalizing people. All right, and I certainly don't think it's by accident. All right. Videos of the gory shooting were widely circulated on social media. platforms and seen by millions. It's not good for us. It is not good to consume, Cox said Friday, addressing the rapid proliferation of the video. Social media is a cancer on our society right now. So, he was right about that. Social media is a cancer. But I have not seen the video because I don't necessarily want to watch a snuff film. But from what I have heard, Charlie Kirk, while literally seconds before he got shot in the neck, and even while he was getting shot in the neck, he was debating the Second Amendment as far as, the right to have guns, all right? And God has a sense of humor, all right? I want y'all to understand this. God's thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. So we hear about somebody dying, and we're like, oh, that's bad. That's very sad. It should never happen to anybody because we're all mortal, right? We could all die. But God can't die. So his sense of humor is different than our sense of humor. All right, I'm just going to show you straight up in the scripture what the scripture says about God's sense of humor. First of all, his thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. All right, understand that. He doesn't think the way that we think. He can't die, right? So he can make deaths funny. It is what it is. He has power over life and death. He can make deaths funny. To him, absolutely. In Isaiah 55, verse 8, it says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord." Right? So he doesn't think like us. All right? "For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." You see that right there? So God's thoughts and his ways are different than ours. They're higher than ours. They're on a higher plane. He can zoom out and look at the bigger picture. All right? And when you just think about it for a little bit, you try to zoom out for a bit, you have this guy who is always defending, and there has even been clips circulating around of him saying, hey, sometimes people gotta die if you want the Second Amendment to persist. Him becoming a victim of gun violence, that's funny. It is what it is. It's actually very hilarious. But, we don't want to say that as people because we could die. So it's not funny to us because we could die. So we don't want to see somebody else die. But to God, who can't die, hey, that's funny. It is what it is. So this is what, and especially Charlie Kirk, and I made a post about this online. Somebody had posted something about Charlie Kirk. And I said, the political right uses the name of Christ for their own political agenda. They don't actually serve the Lord. You think Charlie Kirk was out here saying, look, y'all need to get rid of Christmas because it's pagan? Y'all need to turn back to the Passover? Y'all need to turn back to Hanukkah, which Christ celebrated? You think he said y'all need to keep the commandments of God where y'all fringes at? He ain't never said that. You think he said y'all need to stop going to church on Sunday and keep the Sabbath? No, he never said that. He was always talking about what schools and colleges need to do. All right? Always talking about what, his connections with the president and the White House. All right? And he backed up off the Epstein stuff, which all that was wicked. All that just exposes how wicked the Trump administration and the Clinton administration and all the, political things in America are. He backed up off that. He said, look, hey, they told me not to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to trust the government. That's what he said. All right? Plus always defending what the state of Israel is doing. All right? You think God's cool with that? And then using the name of Christ to justify it? You think God's cool with that? He's not. All right? So Proverbs 1, and I'll start with 22. How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Right? So God said, how long you going to stay in this foolishness? Turn you in my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Right? Everybody got a Bible. Everybody could learn it if they wanted to, but they don't. All right, they want to use the name of Christ for their own political agendas. Because I have called and ye refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. But ye have set at naught all my counsel and would none of my reproof. Right, so it talks about that in Psalms 55 as far as like what do the wicked have to do, to take my law into their mouth. Right, they never wanted to hear the word. Right, as far as Edomites are concerned, and Charlie Kirk is an embodiment of Esau. All right. Verse 25, but ye have set at naught all my counsel, and with none of my reproof, I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. All right? So what does the word calamity mean? What does the word calamity mean? God said he will laugh at your calamity. What does calamity mean? Calamity means an event causing great and often sudden damage or distress. A disaster. You see that right there? So God said he's going to laugh at your disaster, your catastrophe, your tragedy. God said he's going to laugh at that. If you don't want to hear his word, he's going to laugh at your demise. God does have a sense of humor. And it's not like ours. All right? Our sense of humor is, hey, we'll make fun, but we don't want to see anybody get hurt. God's sense of humor is, yeah, if you don't want to hear my word, I'm going to hurt you. And it's going to be funny. All right? That's God's sense of humor. All right? Your evil, your misfortune, your stroke of bad luck. That's the your tragedy, your stroke of bad luck. That's what happened with Charlie Kirk. It was a stroke of bad luck. That's his calamity. All right, I will mock when your fear cometh. Verse 27. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you. They shall call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. All right, so what do you think Charlie Kirk's family and Charlie Kirk himself was doing when he was being carted off to the hospital? They were saying, oh, Lord Jesus, God help him, please. Right? And then he died. It is what it is. God has a sense of humor, and it's not like ours. All right?